from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdés, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdés.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdés, Valdés with an S, at Rich Valdés on all of the social media. Welcome to the Monday night edition of the program. Happy to be here. It's a blessing to be on this microphone, and if you want to join us on our late night national town hall conversation, feel free to do it. We are live and national. You can call in, get on the air, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdés. And I don't know where to start today, right? It's Monday. It's always one of my favorite days to talk about what's going on in the news. Why? Well, because you've got so many things that are happening over the weekend. I'll start with the biggest headline, top line first. President Trump holding a joint press conference with Prime Minister Netanyahu, announcing that they have a deal that will lead to a board of peace. And he breaks down the plan. And it's something that he's accepted and proposed. Prime Minister Netanyahu has accepted. And, of course, now it's up to Hamas whether they'll accept it or not. And we're going to have some conversation with the founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy in a little bit. But there was also some additional conversation, right? We had some additional conversation about the Super Bowl, right? Why? Because Benito Martinez Ocasio, better known as Bad Bunny. Well, Bad Bunny was chosen as the artist to perform the Super Bowl halftime show. And I got to tell you, I thought I was listening to my friends on the left, seeing the response from the conservative right. And this is unpopular opinion warning, ladies and gentlemen. This is where many of you say, well, you know what, Valdés, I've listened to you for a while. I liked you, but you know what? I don't like you anymore. And you could put me on whatever list you want to put me on. Now, I'm not an apologist for Bad Bunny. I'm not an apologist for anything like that. I'm not going to make the case for. I'm going to make the case against hate, right? Because that's what I've been seeing, a whole lot of hate. Now, yeah, it's free speech, sure. Listen, I do it. We all do it. It's great. But you tell me the last time that the NFL halftime show was something pure and wholesome and American. I mean, I can't remember a time. I started thinking back as far as 10 years ago, and there's always been controversial artists performing at the NFL. If you ask me, I would say that's exactly what they do. They bring you some sort of risque artist. They don't bring you Mickey Mouse, right? They don't bring you some sort of family-friendly type of thing. 10 years ago, right? It was, 2005 or 2015 or 2016. Beyonce was there. Her dancers were dressed like the Black Panther Party. The message was about police brutality. It was a serious message of we don't like what's happening in this country, right? That happened 10 years ago. There was last year, Kendrick Lamar. He had the American flag made up. He was talking about things he didn't like in America. I'm not here to say that I agree with Beyonce. I'm not here to say I agree with Kendrick Lamar. But I am going to say this. Everybody grows up a different way, and we all listen to different music. Some of you may be older, where music was about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Some of may be a little younger, where music was about sex, drugs, and killing, right? Guns, gangsters, whatever. There's all sorts of things in music, which is, FYI, entertainment. Some of us grew up watching gangster movies like The Godfather. I love The Godfather. Great movie. It never once influenced me to become a gangster. I never once considered myself someone that was promoting gangsterism, violence, or organized crime because I enjoyed a movie with Marlon Brando and Robert De Niro. But somehow we've reached a place where you can't like movies anymore. I love the movie Scarface. I don't care about the cartels. I don't want to sell drugs. But Scarface was a great movie. That's my point. If you watch a show on TV, a cop show or whatever show, are we now supposed to say, well, that's you promoting violence? Now, I bring that up to say why? Because I grew up listening to Public Enemy. Right? That was a rap group, Chuck D, Public Enemy. Chuck D, all he did was talk about social issues. If I would have listened to Chuck D, I'd be a radical leftist Marxist today. Instead, I'm a rather conservative patriot, in my opinion. I believe in small government, limited government, almost none in some cases, right? You know me. Get the horse, dirt roads, don't pave them, keep your money. Don't take my taxes. If I want to pave a road, I'll talk to my neighbor. We'll rent a truck, we'll get some asphalt, we'll do it ourselves. I'm really not interested in what the government has to offer. That's my position. Chuck D's position was different. Influenced me to go the opposite direction of what he was talking about. So I don't believe in this argument that, if I say I like Bad Bunny's music, what does he talk about? Dancing with women provocatively, sex, drugs sometimes, that rock and roll lifestyle. In this latest album, like the newest iteration of Bad Bunny, what he sings about is his love of Puerto Rico. Now, you've heard me talk about Puerto Rico on this show many, many times, and how there are many Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico that embrace communist ideas. And in fact, some of these ideas can look that way, right? When you go so pro Puerto Rico, and you should never be anti-Puerto Rico, right? That's not the case I'm making. But I'm saying when you're so Puerto Rico that it becomes, I want an independent Puerto Rico because the United States is oppressing us, then yes, you've now bitten the fruit of the communist tree, and I disagree with you. Does that mean I instantly say I don't listen to Bad Bunny anymore? Did I do that to Sean Penn? Did I do it to any other person in Hollywood? Did I stop going to the movies? Some people may have chosen to do that. I remember a bunch of years ago when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, a bunch of people were offended by that. And they said, I'm never looking at the NFL again. I'm never watching it again. And guess what? Everybody's up in arms as if the NFL is some sort of conservative bastion when we know it's not. And it has not been. So I find it just so interesting that there is a vitriolic reaction to arguably the largest artist on the planet getting picked for this. Somebody that has been vocal about ICE, who on July 4th dropped his album on July 4th. Why? Not because of his love of America. No, let's not be mistaken here. Because he wanted to make a point. He wanted to use his art because art imitates life, and some artists use that as activism to get a message out. I don't support his message. And in reality, I don't even really support the music, but I do enjoy listening to some of it, and I think he's a talented guy, and I'm not going to say that. You've heard me say on this program that Jimmy Kimmel makes me laugh sometimes. Some jokes aren't funny, but I think Colbert was hilarious. I really haven't watched Colbert on TV at nighttime, but when he was on Comedy Central, hysterical. Talented guy. You don't get to that level of comedy without having some talent. So I know it's an unpopular opinion. I guess you were expecting me to say, you know what, but I can't stand Bad Bunny. What is this country coming to? The guy's been wearing dresses. I don't think he's a drag queen. I think he has talked about a message of inclusion where there's trans people that he's embraced. Not something that I don't want to exclude trans people. I just don't support the idea of trans in general. I don't think that LGBTQ movement has its roots in the well-being of people. And I've made that case very clear on this program. But yet I respect those that are of that lifestyle. And we've had some call in this show that are fans of the show. So I'm not here to belittle or dehumanize anybody or belittle them. It's not my purpose. It really isn't. Every now and again, I will argue with a troll on the radio and call them a pendejo, and they hang up on me. And I get it. Sometimes I get a little out of hand, just like anybody else. But at the end of the day, if we've learned nothing from the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination, it's that we need to try and achieve so much more in the name of love and not in the name of hate. So everybody who's up in arms about he doesn't sing songs in English, he doesn't, listen, I understand your frustration, if it's that at all. I mean, really, who watches this stuff? If we've been boycotting, we as conservatives, I thought we'd been boycotting the NFL since 2015. Honestly did. Since right before Trump. I guess I was wrong. I guess people picked back up, and I thought we were watching NASCAR and UFC and other stuff. But Understood. You can watch whatever you want. Anybody who thinks the NFL is in this business for them is mistaken. Roger Goodell has been talking about taking the NFL global for a very long time. Guess who's the biggest artist in the world? Streams more than everybody. He's been neck and neck with Taylor Swift and Michael Jackson and beating them on certain occasions. Bad Bunny. Anybody who doesn't know the name Bad Bunny, that's fine. You don't have to know. He's not for everybody. He's a rapper from Puerto Rico. And he's incredibly popular. He was in the last Fast and the Furious movie. He made a movie with Brad Pitt. He just finished a movie, in English, by the way, with Adam Sandler, Happy Gilmore 2. He's gotten very large movie roles in the last 3 years. I think he's made 3 movies in the last 3 years. He's hosted Saturday Night Live in English. And he was just on Colbert, and I think their skit was funny. Now, maybe I'm biased because, I'm an American of Puerto Rican descent. My parents were born in Puerto Rico. And I love my culture, just like I think people who are from certain states in the South love their culture, or wherever you're from, right? I never met a New Yorker who didn't love their New York culture. I happen to have New York culture and the culture from Puerto Rico, and I love it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I also believe in freedom and liberty and one's free expression. And that's why you've heard me argue on this program many times. I say, you know what, it's America. Speak whatever you want to speak. I understand there's people that take exception to that, and they want English to be the official language. But I got to tell you, when I've traveled this world internationally, I've never been anywhere where people get offended by people speaking other languages. The only country I've ever been in where there's some sort of people are offended if you speak another language or think that it's not a good idea to speak multiple languages is this one. And that's okay. God bless you. I mean, does me speaking Spanish and Portuguese hurt you in some way? Do other people speaking Spanish and Portuguese hurt you in some way? There is a reality in this country. We are people from many different places. And that's an inevitable fact. And we can choose to hate people for our differences, or we can choose to love them for what we share. A love of country, a love of God, a love of family. Straight ahead, we're going to speak with the founder of the American Islamic Forum on Democracy. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser is going to weigh in on Trump's plan for peace in Gaza and so much more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdés.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdés.
To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name, the Board of Peace, which will be headed, not at my request, believe me, I'm very busy, but we have to make sure this works. The leaders of the Arab world and Israel and everybody involved asked me to do this, so it would be headed by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States. That's what I want, is some extra work to do, but it's so important that I'm willing to do it. And we'll do it right, and we're going to put leaders from other countries on, and leaders that are very distinguished leaders, and we'll have a board, and one of the people that wants to be on the board is the UK former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, good man, very good man, and some others, and they'll be named over the next few days, and it'll be quite the board. Working, everybody wants to be on it now.
That's President Trump making his announcement today at a joint press conference with Prime Minister Netanyahu to end the war in Gaza. I want to get some reaction to that from our guest, the aforementioned Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. He's founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. He's a former United States Navy lieutenant commander, and he's a candidate for Congress in the United States in Arizona's 4th District. Dr. Jasser, welcome back, sir.
It's always great to be with you, Rich. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, sir. So you heard President Trump there. This limited time in this segment, but I want to get your reaction to this proposal Of course, President Trump following this up saying if they don't accept these terms, Prime Minister Netanyahu has President Trump's full blessing to continue destroying Hamas. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to tell you, this has been a long time coming. And, what I heard that was different than all of the different discussions on bringing this war to an end and to peace is the word surrender. Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump together in unison talked about the fact that Hamas needs to surrender. They talked about not only dismantling of Hamas, an end of Hamas, and the release of the hostages. All of the points of this plan really are the way wars end. And for the first time I'm hearing, and not only did we have the imagery of Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump meeting together, but also the guys who seem to have all the radical groups in the world on speed dial, which is Qatar, is also basically bought in. You saw them basically give a wink and a nod that we apologize for. I think Prime Minister Netanyahu appropriately tried to get Hamas in Qatar, but they went past that, moved on, and now we see actually the planets aligning that this is going to be solved, but we won't know until the hostages are released, whether Hamas is finally going to surrender, which is the key term, or they're going to continue this unending war until they're finally defeated on the battlefield, which clearly they have been.
Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, a minute and a half to you. Your thoughts on, do they take this deal or do they load for bear and say, hey, this is it, let's go out for broke?
If they care at all about the Palestinian people, they will. They've been sacrificing, using the rest of the Palestinians as human shields. They are a death cult. They will continue to sacrifice their people and themselves because they believe that somehow a darkness will win, and ultimately the light is the West, the light is Israel, and this war will only come to an end when they know that they have lost. And I think that's what President Trump has been doing, just like in Iran. Israel did the initial hard work for their own protection, and we ultimately did the bunker busters to end it. Now with the White House peace plan, Israel's done the hard work of showing Hamas that they are going to lose on every front possible. And President Trump is saying, listen, we're going to help rebuild Gaza. We're going to allow the Palestinian people to renew. And what people aren't hearing, Rich, is there have been Palestinians marching in the streets in the last few weeks to months saying, enough with Hamas, we're done with them.
Yeah, and those videos that I've seen coming from people in Gaza, dating back maybe 2 months ago now, I've seen people thanking President Trump, people saying that Hamas is horrible, little girls. I've seen some teenage girls. It seems like they feel like they're a little bit less under threat, and they're willing to speak their truth. And coming from a guy, I speak my truth every day without fear of anything. I think that's so refreshing.
And what was so important about this meeting today and the step forward is Europe continues their appeasement. We saw these countries declaring a Palestinian state, if anyway, basically rewarding Hamas's horrific genocide and terror. And this is a step now forward to marginalize that and say America and Israel are leading the free world.
Amen to that. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, stick with us. Candidate for Congress in Arizona, as well as the founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation, his congressional run, other items in the news, and the rest of his reaction to President Trump's announcement. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdés.
No hair, no care, and live on the air. It's Rich Valdés.
Now, if this international body succeeds, we will have permanently ended the war. Israel will conduct further withdrawals linked to the extent of disarmament and demilitarization, but will remain in the security perimeter for the foreseeable future. I think we should understand that we're giving everybody a chance to have this done peacefully. something that will achieve all our war objectives without any further bloodshed. But if Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, or if they supposedly accept it and then basically do everything to counter it, then Israel will finish the job by itself. This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way, but it will be done. We prefer the easy way, but it has to be done. All these goals must be achieved because we didn't fight this horrible fight, sacrifice the finest of our young men to have Hamas stay in Gaza and threaten us again and again and again with these horrific massacres.
That's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with President Trump in the White House earlier today. And some news outlets reporting this as President Trump strong-arming Prime Minister Netanyahu to get this Gaza deal. I want to come back to our guest, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, candidate for Congress in Arizona's 4th District. He's founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. He's a veteran of the United States Navy and a physician. And Dr. Jasser, you heard Prime Minister Netanyahu. This sounds like the most serious language we've talked about. We talked about also this 20-point plan and including things that it hasn't included before, other peace deals. Do we take away from this that we are going to perhaps turn a new leaf, or should we brace for, I don't know, for Armageddon in the Middle East?
Well, I think ultimately, as we see now, the solidarity that President Trump showed with the people of Israel and with Prime Minister Netanyahu, it's clear that Hamas no longer has any wiggle room. They can't seek refuge in other Arab states. Even Qatar was basically on video link, and their haven there with Qatar, while Al Jazeera just 2 weeks ago, state-operated media for Qatar, was having on their sign as Israel was trying to take out the leadership of Hamas, had on their television screens on the Chiron, basically Hamas survived. And now look how far we've come in 2 weeks where they are part of this process, where America made it clear we will give Israel the green light to finish the job against Hamas. And ultimately, this peace proposal that has 21 points, rebuilding Gaza, beginning to empower reform-minded Palestinians, separate from Hamas, which will be dismantled and be decimated and no longer existent, even separate from the Palestinian Authority, which has been proven to be corrupt, etc. So sort of a new leadership, a board of governance that President Trump is talking about, forgetting what Europe did as far as recognizing a state that's not ready to be recognized and hasn't come to the normalcy where they've gotten rid of terror leaders. So this could be Abraham Accords 2.0, because the Arab countries, separate, and even including Qatar, but basically Saudi, Egypt, and others that have not been part of the 1.0 will, I think, be turning a new leaf forward. Now, if Hamas reject this, we're back to making sure they're decimated, and it's going to be more and more months. But this, look at 56, 67, 73, the wars that have been fought across the Middle East. This is the first time they're talking surrender of Hamas. This is the first time we actually see an end of the military operation of the group that attacked Israel at the end now of almost a 2-year war coming October 7th.
Folks, we're on with Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, candidate for Congress in Arizona's 4th District, founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, and a veteran of the United States Navy. Dr. Jasser, I think you're right on this. The wrinkle, I'm going to call it a wrinkle if I can, the wrinkle with Qatar was very interesting, in my opinion. They were very on board. A lot of people were very skeptical when President Trump went there and made deals with them with AI and related investments in America, with our base, et cetera. And there was some concern because of their past material or immaterial support for Hamas, or tacit support for Hamas. And I guess Israel acted on whatever they had to act on. And now, they were, upset, feathers ruffled, if you will. And that seems to have been ironed out. And now we're in a place where it seems, from my view, all of the immediate neighboring Arab states are like, hey, listen, I'm either on board or I'm not getting in your way. And you're right. I think the things are ripe for an actual change to come about.
100%. And, you look back at President Trump's first term, all hell was going to break loose when we were going to move our embassy to Jerusalem because terrorism would just be everywhere. Nothing happened. And the Islamists ultimately went back in their holes, and they didn't say anything. As the country, which is our closest ally in the world, we were able to recognize the capital that they believed to be their capital. Similarly with Qatar, 2 months ago, I was saying it's kabuki theater as Israel was bombing Iran to get rid of their nuclear program that was imminently on the verge of existing. And we finished the job with bunker busters. And then Iran decides to sort of attack Qatar in this kabuki theater when ultimately our large base was there. And Qatar was basically trying to give Iran cover as our enemy, giving them cover while our base was there. Now look how much we've progressed to where they are on video link basically telling Hamas enough is enough, which is their creation through their radicalization and their media propaganda operation.
Really well put. Now, Dr. Jasser, I want to get a sense of what's going on in Arizona. You've been very active as a commentator on issues of Islamic and American relations for many years, and you've written about it, and now you've decided to run for Congress. How much did this influence you? Because we've talked about the threat of Iran, the threat of even jihad in the United States, and it seems to me that threat hasn't really dissipated. So I want to get your thought on that and the real impetus for this campaign.
I have to tell you, my good friend, Charlie Kirk, is somebody who not only I was close to privately, but publicly as his physician. And I've been very active in issues of free speech, our universities, our healthcare system, and others. And you look at Charlie's example with Turning Point right here, right in our district and around the state and around the country. There's a renewal happening in America. And I saw my profession, I'm a primary care doc, weaponized by the government to shut down businesses, shut down free markets, and print money, and destroy the foundations of freedom. And you look at how radicalized the left has become, where they have this assassination culture and radicalism that is fueling violence and justifying violence, which is what I talked about in the Muslim community. And I think that I can be a bridge into a generation that can begin to look positively about America. As we seal our physical border, we need to rebuild our conscience, the border in our conscience that develops national identity. And I'm running in a district, there aren't that many districts left that are truly swing districts, as California is looking to consolidate their districts, et cetera. There's only going to be a handful that can flip. And this District 4, Greg Stanton's been there on life support and oxygen, doing nothing basically in that district, and he's running the DCCC. He's really unknown, and the district is really barely a 2-point Democrat district. We're seeing a huge increase in conservative voices that want to get back to America's roots of God, family, and country, if you will. And, my campaign's about securing our sovereignty, strengthening our national identity, and returning our personal freedom for small businesses, healthcare choice, and ultimately the American family. And I think America is looking to right our course and turn the carrier as, so that leaders like Charlie don't die in vain. And we do, as I went to his memorial last week, and I can tell you that I felt the spirituality of the roots of this country, that no matter what faith you are, that God is here, and that's really why I'm running.
And just for the audience, that's coming from a Muslim, right? That's quite a statement.
Yes, sir.
Really well put, Doc.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for your candor and for your kind words. I have a break I have to get to, but folks, check out his website. Doc, tell them where they find you.
Z4AZ4AZ.com. Thank you.
That's Z like Zuhdi, 4AZ like Arizona, Z4AZ.com. Folks, go check out Zuhdi Jasser's website. This guy is a patriot. He loves this country, and he's all about trying to do the right thing check out the website. Put your hand in your pocket and support him financially if you can. Our friends on KFNX out in Phoenix, Arizona, this is one of yours, so show some love. Doc, thanks for being here, brother.
God bless. Thanks, Rich. Appreciate it.
You bet. Amen. And amigos, your thoughts, your calls, your reactions, and everything else straight ahead.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdés. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdés with an S.
Look at Rich Valdés. He's now a radio host, and he's a great radio host.
America at Night with Rich Valdés.
I cannot continue my re-election campaign.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced in a video post on X Sunday that he is dropping out of the race for re-election.
The constant media speculation about my future and the Campaign Finance Board's decision to withhold millions of dollars have undermined my ability to raise the funds needed for a serious campaign.
Ay bendito. No, sir. What has undermined your ability to run a serious campaign is the fact that you're not a serious person and that you've done a horrible job as mayor. And although you can get some of my friends on the right side of the aisle to agree with you and make you out to be the best mayor in New York City history, guess what? I actually know the best mayor in New York City history, Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor, and you, sir, are nothing like him. Mayor Adams has been an abysmal failure. He's on his third police commissioner. Now, finally, they're saying, well, crime is going down. Crime's only going down because they're no longer accepting reports on most of these crimes. I know how to cook the books just like they do everywhere else. We've seen it happen in D.C. We've seen it happen in Chicago. We've seen it happen in a lot of places. And for anybody to think that they're just not playing games, when you actually have citizens in New York City, residents, making video of things I've never seen. If you're listening to this show and you've grown up somewhere other than the 5 boroughs in New York City, then I understand you don't know what it's like. But I can tell you I've seen this stuff firsthand. I've never seen a woman set on fire on a train until 3 or 4 months ago when it happened, maybe 5 months ago, on Eric Adams' watch. I've never seen 4- and 5-star hotels. The hotel where, so many things happened in the Roosevelt Hotel. I mean, it's a historic hotel in New York City. And guess what? It became a migrant facility. Adams giving out no-bid contracts to his crony friends so that they can go ahead and run part of the services for the migrant hotel. And then it's one hotel after the next hotel. Then this hotel, this historic hotel, becomes the breeding ground for the most violent gang in the United States at this time, right? Tren de Aragua, that thank God President Trump has done a great job kicking out, sending them not even back to Venezuela, sending them to El Salvador, to President Bukele's top-notch prison facility. The things that I'm seeing come out of New York, the level of disinformation, misinformation, and ignorance are astounding. They truly are. Mayor Adams has been a trash mayor. There's no other way to put it. There's no way to put it. You could sit there, I inherited trash. It doesn't matter, sir. You never were bringing anything to the table. Never. All he's done is cry and complain. He branded himself the Biden of Brooklyn. So guess what? He's out of the race. All right, take care. I think we talked about that. I think the last time Curtis Sliwa was on the show, he said he'll be out. He'll be dropping out, right? I think that's been predicted for quite a while. Now, he can blame the finance board. You know what I blame? The fact that he's polling at 8% and he's the sitting mayor. He's on TV every single day. You tell me how you get on TV every single day and poll at 8%. I can tell you how. Do a miserable job as mayor. And he's done it. And he's done it extraordinarily well. So now we have another politician from New York that wants to get in on the action. Zoran Mamdani, assemblyman, right? Somebody who is, I'm going to say, a Marxist Islamist, right? He has sympathized with the what's they're called? The Jihad 5, the Hamas 5, I forget what they're called. But these 5 terrorists that he says that need to be supported, right? That he says it's okay. He will not denounce people saying to globalize the intifada. Wow. These are pretty incendiary statements. Yet, it's almost like people don't believe it because they're like, you know what? Is he really going to be that bad? Then you get President Trump weighing in on it. Oh, my goodness. I don't know. I thought I had that clip somewhere. President Trump saying it would be a very big gift to the Republican Party if we get a communist mayor. Guess he's right. He is right in the sense that New York City will be so bad off, so much worse off, I should say, that people are either going to leave running out of the state, running out of the city, or they're going to be forced to vote the other way. And yes, that will ensure a red wave. But are we going to hold New York City people hostage and have to force them to see what's happening with Mamdani in order to do that? When you have a perfectly viable outsider candidate, the only Republican in the race, Curtis Sliwa, never been a politician. He's not Cuomo. He's not Mamdani. He's not Adams. He's never held elected office. And he's been in the city his whole life. He understands the issues. He's the man for the job. He's not a terrorist sympathizer like Mamdani. He's not saying he wants to give $65 million so that he can afford to help kids that want to get gender transition surgery in public schools. Mamdani said that, not me. Mamdani said now he wants $100 million to help immigrants so that in case they need money and for whatever other issues they have. Are you telling me that this is somebody that has the best interest of New Yorkers at mind, in heart? No, he doesn't have that in mind. New York City needs to wake up, and I think slowly but surely people are waking up. But hopefully it happens quick enough. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdés.
All right, amigos, welcome back to the phones we go. Let's check in with our buddy Paul, calling us from Idaho tonight. Paul, what's on your mind, my brother?
Well, this newest murderer, I'm not going to even try to pick his brain, what was left of it. But
are you talking about the church shooting in Michigan?
Yeah, LDS one, yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, really, quite a shame.
I see it happening more and more, and I'm not seeing any solutions for it. And
I don't know that we can stop crazy. I've always thought, Paul, just, my 2 cents on this. There is, the left immediately wants to demonize guns and shout about mental health, and that's great. That's their right. But in reality, there has always been, and I believe there will always be, evil amongst us. And I'm not saying we should roll over and accept it, but we definitely shouldn't think that we can live in a utopia where crazy people don't exist. And I think prayer moves mountains, and that's the first place we should put our efforts is in prayer. And the second place is making sure that we all stay armed, we harden some of these soft targets. But ultimately, I don't know that we can say, if we do this, that's going to end. That's what the left does, and they say, get rid of guns and you'll never have a shooting again. And I think we both know that's not really true.
You mentioned prayer right there, and I've been praying for almost 2 years solid.
Amen.
For Hamas to give up the hostages, and it's so hard for me not to think that those murderers have already murdered them.
Oh yeah, listen, you and me both. I think a lot of people are really upset about that, and we can only wait and see what happens. Paul, thank you for your prayers. Thanks for your call. Thanks for your comment. And we're going to have some discussion with Dr. Ben Carson about that church shooting. So let me take a pause right here. We'll come right back. Hasta la próxima. God bless you, America.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdés, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdés.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdés, Valdés with an S, at Rich Valdés on all of the social media. Welcome to the Monday night edition of the program. We're live and national, 7 minutes past the top of the hour. If you want to join us on our late night national town hall conversation, give me a call, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdés. And my conservative colleagues are in an uproar because of Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny, the Puerto Rican rapper and singer, has been selected by the NFL to perform the halftime show. Now, I could think of a lot of things to get mad at. Getting mad at Bad Bunny isn't one of them. But needless to say, a lot of people are upset about that. And we've got a report from Lindsey Granger and Robbie Suave at The Hill. Check this out.
Puerto Rican artist Bad Bunny to headline the 2026 Super Bowl.
Now, the Super Bowl will take place at Levi's Stadium in San Francisco. Bad Bunny said in a statement, quote, "What I'm feeling goes beyond myself. It's for those who came before me and ran countless yards so I could come in and score a touchdown. This is for my people, my culture, and our history."
Some conservatives are not happy about this announcement. Starbuck posted on X, Roger Goodell and the NFL just decided to make the Super Bowl political by picking Bad Bunny as the 2026 Super Bowl music act. The guy literally says he isn't touring the U.S. because of Trump's ICE raids. Just released a video mocking President Trump. Also, most of his songs aren't even in English. This is not a pick designed to unite football fans or let people just enjoy the show. It was a pick designed to divide fans, and no doubt Bad Bunny will find some way to push a woke message. Benny Johnson also weighed in, writing, the NFL self-destructing year after year. Democrats, of course, took the opportunity to make fun of MAGA. Gavin Newsom's press account responded to Johnson on X, writing, "Benny, calm down. We all know you listen to Bad Bunny, LOL." And Democratic personality Harry Sisson wrote, "MAGA's now furious over Bad Bunny performing at the Super Bowl. Bunch of snowflakes." So...
That's, again, a report from The Hill, thehill.com, Lindsey Granger and Robbie Suave. And listen, I've got to tell you, I was surprised by this reaction. Not incredibly surprised, right? It's true. Bad Bunny has made out with a guy at the Video Music Awards one year. Bad Bunny has worn dresses to the Met. He's not a conservative, for sure. He's a liberal. He's friendly towards these gay causes. He's an actor. He's a heck of an entertainer, and despite his left leaning and whatnot, I've shared these thoughts before, and I'm going to share them again in brief. Again, unpopular opinion: am I supposed to hate every single person that doesn't agree with my politics? Didn't we learn anything from the assassination of Charlie Kirk to try and reach people through love, and to not hate everybody that disagrees with us? I think it's incredibly important for us to not hate the people we disagree with. And I've got to tell you, I've always been this way. Whether it was growing up listening to what many call gangster rap, people were talking about sex, drugs, rock and roll, guns, all sorts of things. None of those things ever took root in me. They were talking about treating women poorly, this and that and the other. Listen. Art imitates life. People that are in the hood live a certain life. They sing about it. People that are rock stars on the road, the Who, not the Who, the Doors, right? Jim Morrison. This guy died of an OD, as I understand it, right? Or was high as heck during Hotel California and all that stuff. All the others that are involved in this. So I'm going quickly through this, so forgive me if I'm leaving out a few details in genres I'm not super familiar with. But the bottom line is, I'm not only going to like artists that I agree with ideologically or that are conservatives or Christians. Now, I know some are going to say to me, Rich, what kind of Christian are you if you support somebody who's, openly embracing trans movement and trans this? I have to say, probably a flawed one, right? I'm a flawed Christian, just like many, where I happen to like reggaeton. I like hip hop. I like movies with Robert De Niro, right? We used to like Robert De Niro in The Godfather until he said he was going to punch Trump in the face. And then it was, we don't like him anymore. Listen, I'm not looking to hang out with Robert De Niro. I'm not looking to do anything other than enjoy the movies that he makes. And, there are some people who genuinely say, I don't like those people anymore. And that's okay for you. It's just not okay for me, right? That's fine. We don't have to agree. I don't have to hate everybody that doesn't like what I like, is my belief. And a lot of this just stems from my own natural reaction to things. A lot of it stems from my upbringing, right? I'm raised by people from Puerto Rico, right? My parents, my dad is from Caguas, my mom from Santurce, but was raised in Bayamón. And I grew up with a lot of family around, with a lot of culture, a lot of music, a lot of food. And I enjoy Puerto Rico. It's somewhere I like to visit often, maybe somewhere I'll retire one day. I know many people are saying, go now, Rich, go now. And this is not an endorsement of Bad Bunny. It's not an endorsement of his record label that gets money from has money from the former Chavez regime, people that are known communist sympathizers. There are rappers out there that made their fortune, the beginning of their fortune, selling drugs. Made enough money selling drugs to become rappers, start a record label, and move forward. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a comeuppance. And I'm not here to judge every last person. I'm not. It's not a celebration, and it's not an endorsement. It's just, if you make music that I enjoy, I'm going to listen to it. And I'm not going to sit here and hate on every last person. And I think it's within everybody's right to be mad at Bad Bunny if you want to be mad at him. I think he said some silly things. I think he's also capitalizing. He's doing what Trump does in many ways, right? Trump will make a provocative statement in order to dominate the headlines. And the Bunny did the same thing, right? He was sitting on a goalpost, and he put a caption in the video where he's just sitting there wearing a suit and a straw hat. And the comment he made was, we're going to run many yards because others have run many yards before us. Something like that, right? I guess making, alluding to illegal immigrants running, or people of Hispanic descent, moving forward to help him get to where he was in his career. Whatever the reference was, he's a celebrity, right? An entertainer, and he's looking to promote his next gig. Now, but Rich, he said he wouldn't perform in the U.S. What he said was he's going to start his tour in Puerto Rico, and he wanted people to go to Puerto Rico to help the Puerto Rican economy. And again, how can I dislike somebody like that, right? It's like when Billy Joel said he was going to do a residency at the Madison Square Garden, right? He's a New Yorker. He did his residency in New York City. Bad Bunny's from Puerto Rico. He did a residency. He said, if you want to see me on tour, come to Puerto Rico. Now, you throw in his little activism comments like, I don't know, people might, there might be ICE. The reality is ICE could be outside the place in Puerto Rico. He just spent the last month or 2 months doing a show almost every day. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to the news, but there are people from ICE in Puerto Rico, and they are rounding up people that are not legal in Puerto Rico, despite people born in Puerto Rico being American citizens. So it doesn't mean that we don't have an illegal immigration problem in Puerto Rico. We sure do. Say in many ways it's worse because it's an island and there's a lot of ways to get onto it by boat. Anyway, all that to say, I'm not mad at Bad Bunny. He is in my playlist. I don't agree with what he says, what he does. I enjoy the music, and I think he's evolved as an artist, and he's quite an artist in my opinion. But we can get into that later, and we could duke it out if you'd like. Plus, Lara Trump goes on Fox News and says that New York City needs a Republican. And straight ahead, we're going to talk about the church shooting with Dr. Ben Carson. Keep it locked right here. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdés.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdés.
A couple of top lines, because we made a big announcement. Dr. Carson's joining this administration, President Trump's vision on making America healthy again. We just swore in a couple hours ago. Dr. Carson's going to be our National Nutrition Advisor. So as we continue the work to make America healthy again, and the intersection of agriculture and HHS with Secretary Kennedy, as we were talking, we've partnered together for a long time, last administration and even before, it really occurred to us that there's no greater American who has lived the American dream in just such a remarkable way than Ben Carson.
That's Secretary Brooke Rollins. And, of course, Secretary Carson doesn't need much of an introduction. Most people have seen him, have heard of him from watching the news. But some people know him from way before, right? A bunch of years ago, there was a great movie with Cuba Gooding Jr. Made this movie about this gifted neurosurgeon who had separated conjoined twins. It was just a fascinating movie. And Ben Carson truly has lived that American dream, and I'm glad he's back in the administration. Dr. Ben Carson, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
So let's talk about you coming back to the administration. I'm thinking you've done so much in your life and your career, and you can ride off into the sunset and enjoy everything, and you're back helping America again. Talk to us about this new role.
Well, I was asked if I would join the group to look at the nutrition in our society and look at our food and how it's produced, from the time it comes out of the ground until the time it goes on your plate, and recognizing that we're having some significant problems in our country. A third of our population has some type of chronic disease, and our life expectancy has been going down vis-a-vis the other industrialized nations. And there's obviously something wrong. And what we need to do is pay very close attention to it. We have so much food that is processed. We put so much sugar into things. I have a very good friend who has been in Italy for the last 2 months, and his diabetes has completely gone away. But when you go there, particularly along the Amalfi Coast, people eat fresh vegetables right out of their garden. They catch fish, eat it the same day. They don't have a lot of food processing that's going on. Plus, they do a lot of exercising. I see 80-year-old women walking 200 steps, up and down along the coast, and they think nothing of it.
Dr. Carson, that reminds me of a study that came out maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. Similar, it was an Italian study about the effects of red wine on high blood pressure, and there was a mixed review to it because of many reasons. But one of the things that the study noted was that even the wine that they're using in Italy is very different than the wine that we're using in the United States. It didn't have sulfates. It was a lot cleaner, if you will. How did we get into this predicament of having, so many additives in our food?
Well, we stopped paying attention, and the almighty dollar became more important than the almighty health. And we're trying to change that dynamic and have people focus on their health once again. I've always said if everybody ate 3 well-balanced meals a day, drank 6 to 8 glasses of water, exercised regularly, got regular sleep, and didn't put harmful substances in their body, a lot of physicians would be out of job.
Yeah, I agree.
But they don't have to worry because people aren't going to do it unless they're really pushed. And we just have to change the emphasis and make people want to be healthy and show them the data. It's interesting in our country. We have 50 states. There's a wide range of life expectancies. The longest living people are in Hawaii, and the shortest living people are in Mississippi and Alabama. There's an 8-year difference between the two. 8 years. That's a lot of time.
Do you think that's directly attributed to food and lifestyle or other environmental factors?
I think food has a large part to play in it. A lot of fresh food. If you've been to Hawaii, you can see it. And fortunately for them, they don't do a lot of long transporting. They get food from the ground to the table very quickly. So I think there's a lot that goes into it that has to do with what you eat.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. And I'm noticing a trend here. My dad was born in Puerto Rico, my mom too. And you're talking about the Amalfi Coast and the Mediterranean diet and people in Hawaii. And I know people, extended family I have in the Dominican Republic, and they all live past 100 years old. It's pretty normal. And I find it interesting. They all have access to these fresh fruits and less access to processed food because they're on an island. They kind of have to fend for themselves.
And, it's food and it's lifestyle. You look at in San Bernardino County, California, Loma Linda.
Oh, yeah.
And how many people live to be over 100 there? It's pretty astounding. But then you look at their lifestyle. Half of them are vegetarians. The half that are not still are very careful about their diet. They exercise. They don't drink alcohol. They don't smoke. They don't use drugs. And so clearly there are things that you can do in your life to increase your longevity.
Dr. Carson, there's a housing component to your new role as well. How does that fit into everything?
Well, in the sense that we want to look at the entire human being, the physical aspects, the mental aspects, the spiritual aspects, getting people into the right frame of mind and giving them a place that's not stress-filled. Has an enormous amount to do with your overall health. And just think about it. If you're quietly sitting in a room having a conversation with a couple of people and you're totally relaxed, and then all of a sudden a tiger comes into the room. He didn't touch you. He just comes into the room. What happens? Your blood pressure goes up, your pulse increases, your bladder starts to contract, your pupils start to dilate. All kind of things start happening. Now imagine if you've got that kind of thing going on all the time, what it does to your body.
Fascinating.
Anxiety is good. Yeah.
So well, you know what? It's a good cliffhanger there. We'll leave it right there, and we'll come back and find out how we can remedy that. Folks, we're on with Dr. Ben Carson, National Advisor for Nutrition, Health, and Housing, former secretary at HUD. And we're going to talk about how this new initiative can impact housing and maybe decrease anxiety in certain environmental situations, as well as upcoming things that are in the pipe for Dr. Carson. Don't go anywhere.
Big fan. Your impact is really big. Honored to be here.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdés.
We are going to be presenting Dr. Ben Carson with the highest civilian award and honor in our country. It's the civilian version of the Medal of Honor, which is our highest military award. It's the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and we're going to have a ceremony at the White House honoring Dr. Ben Carson, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Congratulations, Ben.
Congratulations, Dr. Carson. Of course, President Trump bestowing praise and, of course, a well-deserved award on Dr. Carson, and him also being named the new National Advisor for Nutrition, Health, and Housing for the United States Department of Agriculture. Dr. Ben Carson, we left off with you talking a little bit about how to reduce anxiety or what the effects of anxiety and living in a constant fearful state in certain environments, how that can affect one's health as part of your new role. Let's, talk to us more about that and how your role and the federal government can come alongside and maybe provide some support there.
Yeah, well, working together with a lot of other agencies. Our Department of Housing and Urban Development is in very good shape right now with Scott Turner as the secretary and Andrew Hughes as the deputy sec and a whole host of people who really know what they're doing. And in terms of providing housing, building housing, what we're more concerned with is the environment within the house in terms of keeping that clean. Right now, there's pests and things that really cause a lot of respiratory illnesses, can cause a lot of skin problems. And we frequently don't even talk about it.
You're talking about like cockroaches and mice and rats and that type of thing?
Yes, and much smaller creatures also that sometimes require a microscope to see. But they thrive in environments that are less than meticulously taken care of. And we have to get people to understand that, when you have piles of dust and dirt and things around, you're not creating the most helpful environment for yourself, and particularly if you have little children.
And Dr. Carson, I know that you're a man of faith. You've spoken about that quite often, and we recently saw you sharing some words at Charlie Kirk's memorial. I wanted you to share a couple of your thoughts on that, and also on the violence not ending. Right, just yesterday there was a shooting at a church, and it seems like it's hitting a fever pitch, at least from our perspective.
Yeah, well, Charlie was a good friend, and I immediately noticed him when he was a teenager, a young teenager, because he was so mature. And I subsequently found out the reason he's so mature and so well versed in so many subjects is he reads an enormous volume of books every year. And I know that really changed my life too. I was a terrible student, and my mother made me read books, and I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class. And you get to a point where you actually enjoy, you crave learning, and that's the way Charlie was. But all of that learning helped him to really appreciate our country and the history of our country. And he also read about Marxism and all of these things that go on, and he understood what's happening in our country and why it's so urgent to get people to start discussing things and to gain a real knowledge of who we are and who's trying to fundamentally change us and how they are creating friction on the basis of race and age, income, gender, political affiliation, religion, to get people fighting each other and believing that we're enemies, because that's about the only way that our adversaries can bring us down is from within. They can't overcome us militarily, but they can certainly destroy us from within.
And it seems like that's the approach that people are often taking, at least the radicals on the left, pushing Marxism and whatnot. And there was this shooting at a church, a Mormon church in Michigan, and it's being reported that the shooter hated people of the Mormon faith. And again, it seems like the same theme. It's hatred. It's a hatred of people of faith. Your thoughts on? It's my opinion that there's an attack on people of faith. I don't know if you share that opinion, but your thoughts.
Well, there's no question there's an attack on people of faith. Look what's happened to our universities. Particularly our Ivy League institutions, which all started out as institutions to produce preachers. And they were faith-oriented institutions. And now they're completely the opposite of that. But that is part of what Marxism is about. Marxists don't want faith. They don't want people to believe in God. They want people to believe that the government is the ultimate power, and that the government can give and that the government can take away. And all the Marxist countries operate in that fashion. And Charlie wanted people to understand that, because, you know, we have a choice. We can decide what kind of people we want to be. But if you're smart and you're well-read, you look at socialism and communism and you see how most of the people live there, except for the very top. And then you look at the system that we have. You know, capitalism, but it has created much more wealth and comfort for its people than any other system ever has. And, you know, unless you read, unless you study, you won't know these things, and you can be easily fooled by someone who comes along and says, I'm going to give you free bus tickets, and I'm going to give you free food, and I'm going to take care of all your medical needs. And it sounds good, particularly if you're not doing well. And that's why it's so seductive. But once you get captured by that system, it's very hard to escape.
And Dr. Carson, earlier you mentioned that you weren't a great student, and for the benefit of the audience that may not know all about your upbringing, what was it like when you were coming up as a young man? What would you describe? The reasons going into you not being a good student being?
Well, you know, my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. My mother discovered that her husband was a bigamist, had another family, so that was a devastating blow, of course. But the divorce left us in dire poverty, and even without a house. And some relatives in Boston took us in. Typical tenement, large multi-family dwelling, boarded up windows and doors, sirens and gangs and murders. My two favorite older cousins were killed. And that was the environment that I was growing up in. And I just didn't think that I was a very good student. All my classmates agreed, and the teachers agreed. The only one who didn't agree was my mother. She's always saying, Benjamin, you're much too smart to be bringing home grades like this. And, you know, she didn't have much education herself. She had less than a third-grade education, and she worked as a domestic. But she was observant, and she noticed that these beautiful homes that she cleaned, that the people didn't watch TV all day long, and they did a lot of reading and studying. So she came home one day and imposed that on me and my brother, and we were not happy campers. But, you know, we had to read the books. And at first I just hated it. But after a while, I actually began to enjoy it, particularly as I read about people of great accomplishment, scientists and surgeons and explorers and entrepreneurs. And I recognized as I read all of their stories that the person who has the most to do with what happens to you is you. It's not somebody else. It's not the environment. Nobody can stop you if you live in this country. And I became a consummate bookworm at that point. If I had 5 minutes, I was reading a book. And in the space of a year and a half, I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class. And my trajectory was very good at that point. But I still had a problem because I had a horrible temper. I would just get so angry and try to hurt people. And after one episode in which I almost stabbed someone, he happened to have a large metal belt buckle on, and a knife blade struck and broke.
Wow.
But that really made me think. And I realized after some deep prayer and Bible reading that the reason I got angry so much is because I was selfish. It was always about me, my, and I. Somebody did this to me. Somebody took my thing. I want this. And if you could just step out of the center of the circle, you wouldn't have those problems. And that was the last day that I ever had an angry outburst, recognizing it. And people who know me now, they say, I can't believe you had a temper. But, God changed me. And I really began to be able to focus on important things.
Dr. Ben Carson, final point for you. It's a remarkable story and a beautiful testimony. Obviously, you went from being a bad student who grew up in a broken home to becoming not only a brain surgeon, and I'm sure you hear jokes about that all the time, but a world-renowned brain surgeon, really. And I'm curious to know, in your brain surgeon career, what's the funniest thing, since that's such a serious topic, what's the funniest thing that's happened to you as a brain surgeon?
Well, there's not too many funny things, but one thing is that I hate the sight of blood. And people say to me, but you became a surgeon. And I say, would you rather have a surgeon who likes the sight of blood? Just got to keep these things in perspective.
That's great. That's good advice. Dr. Ben Carson, I want to thank you for being here. Godspeed to you. You're always welcome to come and talk about new initiatives in your new role, and good luck to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You bet. God bless. Amigos, we come back with your thoughts, your calls, your opinions, and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdés. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdés with an S. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdés with an S.
All right, amigos, welcome back. What a great conversation. What a great man. And Rich Valdés, by the way, keeping you company this evening. We're live and national, taking your calls, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. We're talking about the new health initiative that Dr. Carson was promoting, talking about a lot of issues there. We're talking about Bad Bunny and the Super Bowl. We're talking about Trump's peace plan, broad peace. The board, it's a broad peace plan, but he called it the Board of Peace. And what was the third thing? Of course, Mayor Adams is out of the New York City election. And lots that I want to discuss with you guys. Of course, I want to remind you, if you miss any of the interviews that we do on the show, make sure you check out the podcast of the show. That is richvaldez.com. Just go there. You can get it for free. You can get it on Apple Music. You can get it, Apple Podcast, any podcast. It's everywhere. Rich Valdés America at Night. Make sure you're subscribed to that. If you've already left a 5-star review, I want to thank you for that. I appreciate those. And, of course, I want to get your thoughts on everything that's going on in America at night. So let's go. Let's hit the phones. We're going to go to Ohio, middle of America, WNIR. We're checking in with Debbie. Debbie, go right ahead. You're on with Rich Valdés.
What a wonderful interview with Dr. Ben Carson. I wish he were my doctor.
Isn't he great?
I really liked him. I wish we would have heard more of him back in the day when he was running for president, but it's okay. I really enjoyed that. Secondly, Bad Bunny, badass choice. I just got to say, good choice. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be watching. I like him. Okay.
I like him too.
That's all I got to say.
I agree with you. Listen, I didn't start out liking Bad Bunny, Debbie. I got to tell you, when I first heard Bad Bunny,
I didn't know who the hell he was when I first heard his name back a few years ago. But I'm getting to know him, and I like him.
Well, you know what? Similarly, I did. I heard the name, and I was like, who calls himself Bad Bunny? And my kids were listening to it, and I heard it, and I said, this sounds kind of trivial. I didn't give it too much of a chance. And then I heard it. I heard it when I was like out and about, and I guess it went from like the younger generation to a little bit more into Gen X. And what I liked, I heard, and I said, I'm going to give this a chance. And as I listened more, and I actually checked out a full album, I said, wow, there's so much double entendre here. It's so deep, a lot of the meaning here, that people miss, I think, at first glance because there's so much wordplay. And I became a fan. And that was like 3 albums ago. And here I am. Again, I'm not a fan of everything he does, but I enjoy the music. And I love the cultural display, especially of this last particular album. So, yeah, I think we're in agreement on that one, Debbie. Thank you for your call. WNIR in the building, Ohio. Let me, well, you know what? I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to come right back. So stick with me. I'm going to go to Walter in St. Augustine, Florida on WFOY. Straight ahead.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdés.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdés, Valdés with an S, at Rich Valdés on all of the social media. Welcome back to the program, richvaldés.com for those who are streaming the show. And I want to go to Walter in St. Augustine, Florida, WFOY. Go right ahead, sir.
¿Cómo está, Rich? ¿Usted?
Todo bien, brother. How are you?
Good, good. Rich, I know Puerto Rican culture, growing up in New York City. I heard the bongos beating at midnight and the rice and beans and the paella. And the old man, Rich, who shaved ice by hand all day long, making himself
Piraguas. That's the Piragua man.
Yes.
I love that stuff.
And well, overall, hardworking people and fun-loving, too. And, Rich, as far as the NFL, they're no saintly organization. Have they ever had, say, Frank Sinatra do a halftime show? No, not wild enough. Rich.
Right. Right. Yeah. And listen, like I said it earlier, it's not necessarily a defense of Bad Bunny. It's just that, I mean, come on. We've seen so many very, very risque things come during NFL halftime shows that, to think that Bad Bunny is going to get up there and no, I'm sure there's no question in my mind he's going to make an anti-ICE demonstration. And I think something else he's going to do is likely introduce himself to this larger audience. I think many people in the U.S. know who he is. Maybe not necessarily people that listen to this particular radio show, but a lot of people know who Bad Bunny is. And those that don't definitely are going to know who he is now. And I think he's probably going to drop a couple of English tracks to, why not? Let's capitalize on the moment, Walter.
Right, exactly, Rich. And when it comes down to it, it's all about the dinero.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And, I'm going to tell you a quick story if I can with the time I have left. I went to a conference for, I think it was called Podcast Nation, I want to say. It was in Dallas, Texas, a couple of years ago. And there were iHeartRadio threw a party. I went to the iHeart party, and let me tell you, that nightclub that we were having the party in, it exploded when the Bad Bunny song came on. And these people didn't speak Spanish. And they all knew all the words to the song, or they were, mouthing the words of what they thought he was saying because he was singing in Spanish. And I got to tell you, it was the first time I'd seen a Spanish language artist have that much of a mass appeal, again, in Dallas, Texas. So that was a couple of years ago. I only expect to see more and more people that are fans of Bad Bunnies. Anyway, Walter, thank you very much for your call. I appreciate you and your kind words about my heritage and the Puerto Rican culture. And amigos, we continue your thoughts, your calls, and reactions straight ahead, as well as a conversation with a black guy who actually befriended a Klansman. We've had him on before. He's got a new book out. We're going to talk to Daryl Davis straight ahead. Don't go anywhere.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdés, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdés.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdés, Valdés with an S, at Rich Valdés on all of the social media. Welcome to the Monday night edition of the program. We're back for another hour. It's a blessing to be with you live and national, 7 minutes past the top of the hour. You want to join us on our late night national town hall conversation? Give me a holler. You know the phone number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdés. And President Trump today meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And he had a lot of things to say about the new peace deal that's been presented to Hamas. Prime Minister Netanyahu buying into this. And what's interesting about the whole thing is the President of the United States was described by some media outlets as twisting the arm or forcing the hand of Benjamin Netanyahu to get to this deal. And they actually have reached a peace deal. And I think you're going to want to listen to this. Check this out.
To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name, the Board of Peace, which will be headed not at my request, believe me, I'm very busy, but we have to make sure this works. The leaders of the Arab world.
Trump, I just wanted to make sure, I want to interrupt him very quickly. Trump also talked about Hamas and their need to agree to release all hostages within 72 hours. Check this out.
If accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages immediately, but in no case more than 72 hours. So the hostages are coming back, and I hate even saying this from the standpoint, doesn't sound right, but it is so important to the parents. The bodies of the young men, I believe in almost all cases, the young men are coming back immediately. I met with parents. The parents felt as strongly about getting the body of their dead boy back as they did as though the boy were alive and well. It's so important to them. And it means the immediate end to the war itself, not just Gaza. It's the war itself. Under the plan, Arab and Muslim countries have committed, and in writing in many cases, but I actually would take their word for it. The people I mentioned, I'd take their word for it, to demilitarize Gaza, and that's quickly. Decommission the military capabilities of Hamas and all other terror organizations. Do that immediately. And we're relying on the countries that I named and others to deal with Hamas. And I'm hearing that Hamas wants to get this done too, and that's a good thing.
Again, that is President Trump, and this was a very stern message. I'm going to say very stern message, right? Why I say it's stern? Because clearly when he follows this up with, if the hostages are not released, we will give Israel our blessing to continue to destroy Hamas. And I've never seen either of them so resolute, and it seems like they've done all the back channeling work on all the neighbors. So it looks like this is the moment. Either Hamas surrenders these hostages, or they're about to go full speed ahead. And I pray that it's not the case. I really, really pray that that is not the case. I think we want to end the killing, end the war. And it would be great if we could get something like that going on in Russia as well with Zelensky. But we'll keep you up to speed on all that stuff. Now, something else going on with respect to Trump. El Trumpito. President Trump, another big victory. Remember when he said, you're going to ask, are you tired of winning yet? Right? And I don't think anybody's tired of winning yet. YouTube to pay $24.5 million to settle Trump lawsuit over suspending his account. I tell you, these things genuinely put a smile on my face. The fact that you could take a guy that was so popular in popular culture, on television, with The Apprentice, and movies and rap videos. I mean, everywhere. Everybody liked Trump. Trump was just one of those cool fixtures in popular culture. And decided to run for president. He became literally Satan incarnate in the eyes of the left. They've been painting him as the worst thing ever for the last decade. Easy. A little bit more. And he signed settlement papers today that will require YouTube to pay him $24.5 million to resolve a lawsuit after YouTube, which is part of Google, suspended the president's account back in January of 2021 following the riot outside of the U.S. Capitol building on January 6th. The Washington Post reported that the Google-owned website was directed to put $22 million out of the settlement money towards helping to construct the new White House ballroom. Look at that. So El Trompito says, hey, I sue you, and you're giving me $24 million, $24.5. And he says in the settlement, out of the 24, $22 million are going to go to building the White House ballroom. What president does that? So now you've got YouTube paying for that. I mean, you got to love it, right? They silenced his speech. He wins this big money. And instead of saying, I'm recouping the money I lost and this and that, the lawsuit money, he's taken whatever it was, $2.5 million, I guess, to cover legal expenses and whatnot. And I'm sure he probably spent that much, if not more, on this lawsuit. And the rest he's giving to America so that they can have this big, beautiful ballroom, big, beautiful, best ballroom ever. I don't know how people can take exception with that kind of behavior. A president who cares so much about this. The other day somebody called here, and it's their right to complain, but he was very bothered by the grand scale of this ballroom. And again, I understood his perspective. I didn't agree with it, but I understood it. Really just interesting how no matter what Trump does, they're going to give him a hard time. It really is. A shout out to El Trompito Donaldus Magnus. I'm actually hoping to say hello to El Trompito sometime soon. And when I do, I'll let you know. The settlement underscores how much social platforms have changed their approach to what they call moderation. FYI, moderation is censorship. That's what they call it in the Silicon Valley. During Trump's second presidency, YouTube and other companies previously banned content that claimed Trump won the 2020 election or told people to mistrust coronavirus vaccines. But the companies largely rescinded those policies as Trump ran for election for president again. And I'm glad they did, right? Because you have to allow people to think for themselves. We can't live in this world. And it's the same thing with, I understand we shouldn't utilize hateful rhetoric. I'm with that. I'm with it. Don't use it. It's not good for you, for the soul. Okay, got it. But I can't sit here and ever put the blame fully on inflammatory language. I can't sit here and blame video games. People that do bad things because they're evil. Period. The end. You know, right now people are upset with the NFL. Why? Because they've picked Bad Bunny. And all I could say is, why did you wait till now to get mad at the NFL? Right? I mean, I thought we were mad at the NFL for a long time because we didn't like the way that the NFL was not honoring veterans at the time, right? When Colin Kaepernick took a knee. And many people said, no. If the anthem is playing, you should be on, you should be on 2 feet and with your hand over your heart. And, even if you don't like America, at least honor the veterans who fought and died for this country. Have some respect. And until the NFL does something about it, we're not watching. Right? I remember that. And then, what was it? Nike doubled down. And they said after Kaepernick didn't have a job anymore, they gave him a contract to do some commercial and whatever. And I remember everybody was burning their Nike stuff. And listen, I didn't have any Nike stuff I wanted to burn, and I wasn't going to buy any new stuff because, I have some pretty cool Air Force Ones that, I have like a snakeskin Air Force One in red with a gum sole. Where am I going to get that again, right? I don't think they're around anymore. So I wasn't going to get rid of the stuff I had, but I didn't buy anything new. I didn't buy any Jordans. I didn't do any of that. I went to Adidas. I bought Yeezy. Okay, got it. No Nike sneakers for me. I think I have a Nike workout shirt or two that I had prior to. I didn't buy anything new. Everything was Adidas after that. And yet, I did end up recently, like 2 months ago, I bought a pair of sneakers, Nike ones. And I said, my boycott's over because I think everybody else's boycott is over. Because everybody was complaining about Kendrick Lamar. And again, I thought we weren't listening to the NFL. We weren't watching the NFL. So I'm hearing commentary from people, and I'm not looking to pick fights. I'm just saying, this is my take on this. You've got people saying that the NFL has lost touch with their fan base. And to you, I say, excuse me, do you really think that you're the NFL fan base? You've got the NFL for the last 2 years talking about they want to have the NFL in Europe. They want to have the NFL globally. President Trump the other day had the FIFA people in his Oval Office, and he said, we're going to have the equivalent of 7 Super Bowls with the World Cup. Soccer, also known as football in Español, is huge, right? It's way bigger than the NFL. So I think the NFL sees this and says, hey, there's an opportunity for growth here. This, to me, is the free market. And they're looking to capitalize, so they go and they get the largest, or at least one of the top global artists in the world, Bad Bunny, to do the show. And a lot of people up in arms. And we can be up in arms. I'm not here to promote him. I think a different artist might have been fine. I happen to like this one, but that's okay. I understand that he's been pro-trans in the past, and he's worn dresses, and he's done crazy things. I got it. But this is their right to choose. It's free speech. It's my right to watch or not watch. It's my right to patronize or not patronize. Isn't that what we believe? Liberty? I'll be right back with somebody who also believes in liberty and fairness and love instead of hate. A black man that befriended somebody in the KKK. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdés.
By the way, your ratings are up. Congratulations. It's always nice to check. I like to see, even if they're friends, I like to see how are they doing. Are people listening, right?
That's
but
right.
You're doing great.
America at Night with Rich Valdés.
All right, America, welcome back. Rich Valdés. And check this out. I'm looking at the New York Times here. And there's an article in the Times. Stand by. Here we go. The death of Trey Reed, a black man in Mississippi, strikes nerves in the U.S. Now, again, this was something we talked about in brief, the day it happened a couple of weeks ago. Very unfortunate. A 21-year-old black student named Demar Travion Reed was found dead on the campus of a small college, and the family said one version of events had happened, and the police said another. And it reminded me of how far we've come in, I'm going to call it race relations, if you will. But yet, there's still a hiccup every now and again, isn't there? And I remembered a conversation that we had a couple of years ago with Daryl Davis. And this is a black man with an incredible set of pipes. What a great voice this guy had. And he came on the show, and we talked about how he had met a white man who was part of the KKK. And they had some words at first, but then they became friends. And it was a remarkable story. And now Daryl's back with us because he's got a book out now called The Klan Whisperer. He's with the Prohuman Foundation, and he's with us tonight live. Daryl Davis, welcome back.
Thank you, Rich. Glad to be back, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank God, brother. And, I loved your story, and I love the fact that, here we are in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, and I feel like the theme, the trend that we're all talking about is love and trying to have peace and reconcile with our enemies and try to get to some common ground. And it's not always about an enemy, right? Sometimes it's just a simple disagreement, those that we don't agree with. And I think that's the right way to approach things. Yet sometimes we see crazy violence like we saw in this church in Michigan. And while not necessarily racially motivated, that was more of a religious attack. The bottom line for me is we have to embrace a more loving approach, in my opinion. And you had such a great story about this. I want you to kind of just remind us of how you got into this whole becoming the Klan Whisperer, and then, of course, tell us about the book.
Sure. Well, as you pointed out, the shooting at the church in Michigan may have not been racially related. In this case, it was religion. But at the end of the day, all of this boils down to hate, whether it's religion, politics, or race. Somebody hates what somebody else stands for, or what somebody else looks like, or who somebody else worships. At the core, it's the hate that has to be addressed. So I'm age 67. I've traveled around the world. I've been to 64 countries on 6 continents. As a performer and lecturer, I've been to all 50 states. And what I have learned, Rich, is this. No matter how far I've gone from our own country, the United States, whether it's right next door to Canada or right next door to Mexico or halfway around the globe, is that everybody I've encountered, whether they look like me or not, or whether they speak my language or worship as I do, or maybe not even worship at all, I've always concluded every single person I've encountered is a human being at the end of the day. And every human being wants these 5 core values in their lives. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be heard. We all want to be respected. We want to be treated fairly and truthfully. And we want the same things for our family as anybody else would want for their family. And if we can learn, when we find ourselves in an adversarial situation or in a society or a culture in which we're unfamiliar or uncomfortable, if we can apply those 5 core values or any of those 5 values, I will guarantee you that your navigation of that situation, that culture, that society will be much more smooth, much more positive, and much more productive. And that's how I'm able to navigate in the world of white supremacy.
Wow. Folks, we're on with Daryl Davis. Daryl Davis is a co-founder and global ambassador for the Prohuman Foundation. He's got a brand new book called The Klan Whisperer, where he's sharing his courageous story of a lifetime of victories over darkness and ignorance. And we're going to continue our conversation with him straight ahead. You may know Daryl Davis because he has a TED Talk titled Why I, as a Black Man, Attend KKK Rallies, and he's got over 12 million views on that TED Talk. So we're going to hear a little bit more about the book, The Klan Whisperer, and his very important work on eliminating hate, straight ahead with Daryl Davis and me, Rich Valdés. Keep it locked right here. Don't go anywhere.
America at Night with Rich Valdés.
Students on Delta State University's campus react to Cleveland Police Department's ruling of Trey Reed's death.
I don't have much of an opinion on the autopsy. I'd like to think that they aren't lying, but considering the history of Mississippi, it's hard to be sure.
On Thursday, it was ruled that the 21-year-old DSU student died by suicide. Reed was found hanging from a tree on the university's campus near the pickleball courts Monday.
The family needs to hire their own personal investigator. I think they need to do their own investigating.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who stepped in to represent Reed's family, said they are seeking an independent autopsy. Reed's grandfather said he is suspicious of CPD's initial ruling on Reed's death because they were misinformed by officials.
He told me that they found Trey Reed in his room.
Crump is also demanding that they are shown a video of what led to Trey's death.
You keep telling us what to believe,
but you're not showing us any evidence, showing us any video.
Cleveland police say all files and materials have been turned over to the FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office for review. They add final toxicology results could take 2 to 4 weeks to complete.
That, again, is a report on what happened with Trey Reed. Again, this is a very, very unfortunate situation. And I bring this up because, again, this is a story that was in today's New York Times. And some people are concerned that this was a racial murder. The initial autopsy suggesting it was suicide. And again, it goes back to the heightened state of affairs that we have when it comes to race. It's like, I think one side, blacks are immediately waiting to say, "Oh my gosh, he was unarmed and the cops shot him. This guy was killed," and the other side said they were doing the wrong thing. And so many assumptions are made that sometimes the truth gets lost. And even when you get the truth, like an autopsy, people don't even want to believe the truth because they're so rooted in the idea, the preconceived notion they already have. Our guest has brought up that this is oftentimes rooted in hate. And Daryl Davis, again, co-founder of the and global ambassador for the Prohuman Foundation. He's got a new book called The Klan Whisperer. And this is the only guy I know, the only black guy I know, actually the only guy I know, period, that has a closet full of KKK robes. I don't even know white guys that have those. And he got them by winning over former bigots. And he just simply asked them, how can you hate me if you don't even know me? And he's done this for years. We had him on the show a couple of years ago. It was a terrific conversation, and we've got him back now. Daryl Davis, welcome back. I want you to, I guess, pick up where we left off and tell us a little bit more about the impetus for the Klan Whisperer. You told us about these 5 elements, and I think those are key. What else?
Yeah, sure. Well, like I said, I'd been around the world, and I lived in Europe, I lived in Africa, and everywhere I went, I met human beings, and I could not find out for the life of me why I was being treated better in other countries across the Atlantic Ocean or across the Pacific Ocean, better than I'm being treated in my own country by my fellow countrymen. So the question was that I formed at the age of 10 after being hit with bottles and soda pop cans and rocks and debris from the street by some spectators because I was the only black Cub Scout in a parade in Massachusetts. I formed a question which was, how can you hate me when you don't even know me? And I was 10 years old when that happened. And so for the next 57 years, I'm 67 now, I've been looking for the answer to that question. And I've been actively seeking it by finding people who actually hate. So who better to go to than someone who would actually join a group with over 100-year history of practicing hating people who don't look like them, who don't believe as they believe. So I began seeking out, white supremacists, starting with the Klan, and then, of course, I'd run into fringe groups. I'd run into neo-Nazis, Patriot Front, Proud Boys, alt-right, black supremacists, all kinds of different people. You find them around the fringe when you focus on one.
So I didn't know
group.
that. So you not only dealt with the white supremacists, you also dealt with black supremacists.
Absolutely. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. Black supremacists and white supremacists, they get along. They get along because they have the same ideology, purity of the race. Purity of the race, that's key. And, while they may not agree with one another, they respect one another because of that. They believe in keeping the races separate.
Yeah, it's not stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane, exactly. And no miscegenation. Now, that's not something that I ascribe to.
Right. Very fascinating. Folks, we're on with Daryl Davis. He's the author of the new book, The Klan Whisperer. And this, again, is just a fascinating individual, I believe, and a fascinating story. Now, when people... Go ahead.
We spend a lot of time talking about what we're against. I'm anti-racist. I'm anti-this. I'm anti-that. Why don't we talk about what we're for?
Right.
So, I don't believe we should be anti-racist in terms of the noun, the person. We should be anti-racism, but less, the ideology, because the person, is a human being, and what can be learned can be unlearned, and that person is learned racism. So let's talk about, what we're for. Well, we're for, being pro-human. That's why I'm a co-founder to the Prohuman Foundation, and we have, these same core values in our foundation. We bring in people from all different walks of life, all different sides of the political spectrum, or race, or religion. Some of us agree with one another. Some of us don't agree with one another. But we want the same things for human beings. That's why we are pro-human. And we work together to get.
Now, Daryl, tell me a little bit, or tell everybody that's listening, how they can learn more about the Prohuman Foundation.
Sure. You can go to prohumanfoundation.org. prohumanfoundation.org. You can also go to Amazon and pick up the Klan Whisperer, and you can learn more about my work and why it's so important, especially today, but it's always been important in this country.
Now, with Prohuman Foundation, are there events, seminars? How do you approach the work you're doing?
Well, we do have seminars. We also attend other conferences, like a fantastic one, LibertyCon, also the Pluralism Summit, Freedom Fest. These are different organizations that also promote the, free speech and things like that. We become a part of that. We have representation there. And we also put on our own seminars. And you can find a list of those also at prohumanfoundation.org.
Outstanding.
Sometimes I'm sent out as the global ambassador to conduct some of these lectures and seminars.
Well, I love what I'm hearing. Folks, if you want to learn more about Daryl Davis and the work he's doing as a global ambassador for the Prohuman Foundation and his book, The Klan Whisperer, check them out, prohumanfoundation.org, prohumanfoundation.org, or you can get a copy of the book. I recommend getting one for yourself and one that you can give away. This is definitely a book I think you give away and somebody's definitely going to read, The Klan Whisperer, and that's available on Amazon.com. Now, Daryl Davis, before you go, let everybody know how they can reach you online. How do they follow you on social media?
Sure. At Real Daryl Davis. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Also, DarylDavis.com. And Daryl is spelled Daryl. There's only one R.
Daryl with one R, Davis, like usual. Daryl Davis, thank you, brother, for being here. I appreciate it. Godspeed to you. Best of luck with the book and the Prohuman Foundation, and we got to do it again soon.
Rich, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and we will.
Yes, sir. God bless. And, amigos, your thoughts, calls, and reactions. Did you ever think you'd hear about somebody collecting KKK robes and hoods and doing that because he's won over bigots? I'd love to know your thoughts on this and everything else we're discussing tonight. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdés. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, that little tune right there, little Bad Bunny for you. Never heard him. If you were bopping your head to that and said, man, what a great rhythm. Yeah, that's some of the latest music from Bad Bunny, El Conejo Malo, who I've criticized many, many times because of his positions on certain things. I think the record label that he's with is spending communist money, right, from the Chavez regime. And I mean Chavez from when Chavez was still around. And all of that being said doesn't mean that I don't like the music. The music is good music. There's a lot of artists that I don't believe in what they do. I don't believe in their religion. I don't believe in their political opinions. And I like the music. I'm able to make that distinction. I guess I'm nuanced, if you will. And I also think that if you're a traditional conservative, in many ways I think I am one, the NFL left me a long time ago, right? At least a decade ago. This isn't anything new where they just pick the most popular artist that's going to give the most woke political message. So I'm not surprised by that either. Now, I want to go to your calls and get your thoughts and opinions on everything that's going on. And let's see. Where do we go? Let's go to Gary, Birmingham, Alabama, WZRR. Go right ahead.
Yes, Rich, how are you?
Wonderful, thank you.
So it's Barry.
Oh, Barry. Okay, Barry.
The name Barry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
So I want to tell you a quick story, what happened 15 years ago. I'm a black conservative, been conservative a long time, and I woke up years ago and I realized what I was being told was a lie by the Democratic Party. They're devastating to black people. I went to school to get a PhD in science and a PhD in physics, chemistry and physics, and I had a little small business in Bessemer, Alabama. And I was the only black business on the block for a long time. Had a little research laboratory, and they had a Klan rally in a park called the Barlaven Park. And they were walking down the street, two of them, two Klansmen, going to a store. And I was standing in the door, and they asked me, how was I doing? I told them I was doing fine. And I was stunned because they spoke to me. We started a conversation, and they talked to me for 2 hours, two of them. And we talked, and they became a customer. They had some kind of a small machine shop. I started to sell them a material for a cutting fluid, and they became a customer, and we talked to one another, periodically from time to time. And everybody was stunned because, they just stunned. All the business people on the street was watching, and they stormed over. They said, are you crazy or what? I said, well, I fear no man. I fear God. And I have not done anything to anybody, and I'm not a victim, and they don't know me. But if they want to know me, they'll know that I'm just, a general American trying to live a good life like anyone else. And it was a stunning thing that happened, and my family was stunned. Everybody was stunned. They laughed after it all happened. They said, you got to be kidding me, but, that's what happened. And so I was hearing about the gentleman you had on the radio there.
Yeah.
And I thought that I would chime in to let you know that, this is what happened to me.
Right.
And happened
you
about
had a
15 years.
similar experience, you said 10 or 15 years ago, with meeting bigots. And, Barry, it's one of those things that I'm glad it's happening, right? I'm glad it's happening. My hope is that some of the listeners to my audience will also, embrace things that they don't like. And I'm not saying, this is not down-talking my audience. I'm saying I know that there is a lot of love in America, and I know that there's a lot of frustration for the current state of affairs. And my hope is that many of us will embrace the legacy of Charlie Kirk, really, and just say, you know what, let me have a little more patience. Let me figure out another way to try and bridge the gap, starting with me, right? Really, starting with me. I know I lose my patience with some of my callers that disagree with me. But very good, Barry. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your call. I'm going to pause right here. We're coming right back to some callers that disagree. Straight ahead.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdés.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdés keeping the company. We're live and national. We're going to David, San Francisco, California, calling us from KSFO country. Excuse me, David, go right ahead.
Oh, thanks, Rich. The government shutdown looms tomorrow, And if you remember, all of these previous government shutdowns cost America vast amounts of money because they shut off an agency and then they turn it on. And they shut off an agency.
I think we save money that way, David. Honestly, I think we save money.
No, you don't. The fact of the matter is
how do we spend more if nobody's at work?
Because the public is not getting the services that they deserve.
Services do we need? What do we not get on Saturday? What do we not get on Sunday? What do we not get every time there's a federal holiday? What's the loss?
Well, the last time the Republicans managed California, they shut down the courts, and so the courts didn't run on Fridays. And so you had to drive 75 miles in order to file a claim.
Is anybody besides you crying about driving 75 miles in California? Do you think you're going to get sympathy with that statement?
Rich, do we the people have the right to buy in bulk? Do we the people?
Sure, and don't buy from the government. Buy from a store.
Do we, the people, have the right to have county hospitals? Do we have the right to have federal agencies that look
I don't know of any right to a county hospital. I've never seen such a right, but I can guarantee you that your county hospital is not going to close because of any government shutdown. They don't close on holidays. They don't close on the weekends. David, I thought you were smarter than this. Thank you for your call. I say that in love. Let us continue. I want to go to Lisa, calling us from Sandy Springs, Georgia. Lisa, it's the speed round. Go right ahead.
Hi, Mr. Rich. How are you doing today? This is
Wonderful,
Lisa Groves. I'm a U.S. Army Black female veteran, and also I'm a veterans advocate. And if you go to Google.com and Google my name, Lisa Groves, that's G-R-O.
Now this sounds like a shameless plug instead of a comment,
Yes.
but thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it. God bless you, and thank you for your service. Let us continue. We're going to go to Joe, calling us from Salem, Arkansas, KSAR. Joe, go right ahead.
Yeah, thanks for Ben Carson. Love the guy. Is he working with Bobby Kennedy or for him? I never heard Kennedy's name come up.
No, he's working with Brooke Rollins in the Department of Agriculture, really analyzing where the food is coming from farms to tables.
Okay, so they didn't replace Bobby Kennedy then, right?
No, he's not a secretary anymore. He's coming in as national advisor for nutrition at the Department of Agriculture. So he's going to be helping them and working along with the other departments as well, Housing and Urban Development and the Department of Health. So it looks like it's going to be a really fruitful thing. Joe in Salem, Arkansas, KSAR, thank you, sir. And quickly, we go to Tony, Montreal. Go right ahead, sir.
How you doing, Rich? You know, when I'm listening to you and I hear these people, these complainers, I'm always of the opinion that the left can never, ever be satisfied. I had a conversation with a liberal today in Montreal where she advocated for the benefit of digital IDs because it was going to reduce the greenhouse effects and greenhouse gas emissions in our country. And you know, Rich, I don't believe the left will ever get past the permission level.
Yeah, well, listen, Tony, I'm sorry about that. The left is never going to change. The left is the left. We have to convert as many of them to becoming loving people that choose not hate, but choose love. Hasta la próxima. Take care. Good night, and God bless you, America. I'm Rich Valdés.